Unfortunately, I am Superman of Doom. The people of the Motherland have come. Unfortunately, I am Superman of Doom. Chapter 44. During this week, the mature and stable boss of the Big Brother suddenly made her feel a little strange and scared. The bruises on the middle-aged inspector's forehead faded, and he said coldly, "There is no next time. If you raise another point of view that resembles demagoguery or wavering you will be completely kicked out of the supernatural ministry and will need to undergo further psychic evaluation." Quote. Saying that, he removed the pistol and explained without refusal, "Prepare, there are high-level personnel from the headquarters who are coming soon. At that time, we will hand him over and transfer the invading inmates, including high school student Meng." Quote. "Yes, sir," the detectives responded in unison. Only the young female detective looked frightened and stood motionless. At this time, isolate in a single room. Through the internal and external camera lenses, Meng examines this unexpected farce absolutely rationally, from the perspective of God. So it is. At this moment, Meng realized many things. Since 200 years ago, some invasions, including the Motherland, have descended on this world. Which is also the reason for the 30-year blank history before the establishment of the Federation. The earliest batch of film and television invaders, most likely the existence of the villain lineup, ruled and established the Federal Empire. And, in order to secure their status and identity, they may have set a series of laws. For example, illegal intrusions after them are all evil and need to be recognized by the detection. Even, including these world-distributed paranormal funds, the people in charge may be believers who have been brainwashed to a certain extent. In this way, everything makes sense. In that case, this Federation. Don't wait. Quote. Meng sneered in his heart, in such a structure and truth world, he will definitely resist, so that it makes no difference whether he lifts the table now or in the future. Meng had already made a decision and immediately deduced it in his heart. After leaving the paranormal department, you will definitely be wanted by the world, and you can travel to the deep mountains or uninhabited desert island to deal with your own doomsday invasion. Once he fails, and reality spirals out of control into doom, it doesn't matter. After all, the uncontrolled fall of the reality ontology represents the death of Meng's self-consciousness. After he died, what a flood. And once you succeed and successfully embark on the road of Doom Superman, then it doesn't matter. At that time, in this real world, nothing will be able to bind him. Whether it is the people of the Motherland or other invaders hiding behind the scenes of the Star Dragon Federation. All rules, made by him. And at the same time that Meng made the decision to leave. An agent suddenly shouted, "Sir, near-Earth satellite detection reflects that the area where our city is located is shrouded in fog, and the visibility is extremely low." Quote. "Wait a minute, the fog should clear." The middle-aged inspector nodded steadily. He noticed it just outside just now, but Tianhe City is located in a basin, and a little fog in the morning is actually normal. However, a puzzled and anxious report came one after another. "Inspector, our contact with the outside world has suddenly been disconnected." "What?" The middle-aged inspector frowned and asked, "City network telephone signal, or satellite dedicated line signal?" All. The agent swallowed nervously and spat. "How is this possible?" Some agents hurriedly pulled out their mobile phones and turned on their computers, only to see no signal prompts. "Even the satellite line is disconnected?" The middle-aged inspector sensed that something was very wrong, and the satellite line would not be disconnected from the ground branch unless the satellite failed. And it would still fail at the same time as the city network phone. And once both fail at the same time, this also means that their supernatural department, and even the entire Tianhe City, has become a modern island isolated from the outside world. An agent opened the window of the corridor on the 3rd floor. Phew! A strong wind suddenly poured into the supernatural branch building from the window, carrying a thick white fog, and even the illuminated interior became blurred. All the agents were stunned. Foggy days, they have naturally seen it, but such a serious exaggerated fog is the first time they have seen it in their lives. The white fog with very low visibility, like a dark shadow after nightfall, is like a tide quickly filling every corner of the house inside and outside. "Close the window." The middle-aged inspector's pupils shrank and he quickly gave instructions. But in front of the window, the male agent who opened the window did not seem to hear it, and his eyes looked dull at the white foggy outside the city. "What are you doing?" The middle-aged inspector stepped forward quickly, snapped the window shut with one hand, blocking the pouring of outdoor fog, but the interior was already white. "Sir, outside, there is strange creatures." Quote. The dull-eyed male detective finally came to his senses, and then pointed out the window tremblingly, as if he saw something indescribable in the fog. 0050 begin to get out of trouble at this moment, Jane. The thick and cold white fog filled the outside city area with a white space, and the lights were dim in the fog, making the current strange and inexplicable atmosphere. Coupled with the terrified expressions and strange words of the detective colleagues, even the supernatural department agents with a firm mind trembled in their hearts. The middle-aged inspector looked solemnly out the window. The white fog made the visibility more than 10 times lower than usual. and he could only see the black shadows of high-rise buildings not far away. Other than that, where are the creatures? But no matter what, this white fog is obviously abnormal and unreasonable. It is even possible that it is the white fog or the things that move in the white fog that interfere with all communication signals. The middle-aged inspector only hesitated for a moment, and immediately decided, everyone enters a state of readiness, wears gas masks and protective clothing. With conventional weapons and spare ammunition, divided into two groups, one group goes out with me to understand the situation outside, and the other group stays here. Ready to support and try to contact the outside world. Yes, sir. The agents of the Supernatural Department immediately responded. They were of excellent quality, and they moved quickly. Soon, the 6 fully protected and armed agents, led by the middle-aged inspector leader, left the department. Just as they walked out about 10 meters, their figures were shrouded in white fog surging outside, and they could no longer see clearly. 5, including a young female detective, remained inside the department building to try to repair the network and get in touch with the outside world. For a while, no one paid attention to the teenager in the most advanced isolation room. The thick white fog that obscures the signal, and there are still creatures in the white fog. Meng was a little stunned. This strange situation made him think of a film and television work in his previous life. It is very similar to what is happening suddenly in the real world right now. That movie, called The Fog, of course, cannot be fully confirmed yet. Exactly. Meng, who was pretending to be sleeping on the hospital bed, suddenly opened his eyes, a faint silver light and red light flashed under his eyes, rolled over and landed. And the right hand of the person in the air, almost completely covered with the exoskeleton, clenched his fist, and punched the floor of the isolation room. As the bone protection fist fell, the entire Supernatural Department building shook slightly, and the floor cracked like a spider's web. This power, this destructive power, definitely not what humans can have. Compared with the strength and destructive power, Meng has already experienced it in the dream. The young man's young and handsome face was extremely calm, and the moment he landed, the 5 fingers of his right hand, covered with gray and white bone, stretched and then clenched again. And his fist was once again like a white bone warhammer smashed fiercely in the center of the surface crack net. Boom! The building shook dramatically, and the rubble was splashed. What happened again? Several agents who remained in the department's building hurriedly rushed into the monitoring room, and when they saw the inner scene of the isolated single room filled with dust waves, everyone stood in place like a sculpture. It can be seen that on the floor in the middle of the isolation room, there is an extra hole with a radius of 1 meter. And the ground with steel plates has been completely blasted and connected with the second floor below. Oh my God! Everyone's pupils contracted violently like a shock, and they couldn't believe the scene in front of them. Especially the young female detective. While opening her mouth in shock, she also showed a wisp of relief. Shelter. Number SAS 1666, Class V, high school student Meng escaped. Hurry up, sir. Contact Kunlun headquarters. Quote. However, the inspector is exploring the white fog situation in the city outside, and our communication signals with the outside world have all been disconnected. Inside and outside the Supernatural Division, there was a sudden mess. Some of the agents who stayed behind also hurriedly rushed downstairs with guns in hand, trying to take back Meng, a high school student who had escaped. The detective was on the second and first floors, and could not find any trace of the teenager, so he continued to chase out the door. Naturally, they couldn't think of it. At this time, Meng, who escaped from the isolation room, was still in the branch. Supernatural Department, basement level. Amen's passage through the corridor to the basement of the deepest part of the building, with no intrusion alarms from cameras and alarms along the way. Stop in front of the iron gate with the red, containment alert, sign on it. Meng looked at the portal that required pupil scanning verification permission, and his heart moved, and the built-in protection system was cracked and opened in the next second. Meng pushed the door and walked in.